So I wanted to show you guys real quick. This is an update on the potatoes. It is April 7th today. These were planted on February 14th or 15th, I believe. But anyway, just shy of 2 months in the ground, or 60 days, whatever you want to call it, pretty close. And obviously they're planted way too close together. I got a little greedy with the row spacing, or a little desperate, whichever you want to say. Had way more eyes than I thought. And so I just kind of crammed them all in here. There's technically 5 rows, but they're shoulder to shoulder. I mean, can't even see through them. So what I wanted to see about doing was starting to pull. If there's 5 rows, I want to say if I pull every other one and take it down to 3 rows, you know, basically let those outer rows, the remaining rows, let them get bigger, but start pulling the inside 2 rows as new potatoes. But I wasn't really sure. I was reading online, trying to find any information about, you know, how early you could expect to have a certain size potato, and I couldn't really find anything. Most everything I found just said, oh, well, they're you know, a 90 to 120 day crop or what have you. And of course you could pull them earlier for new potatoes, but it didn't specify how much earlier. So I pulled one up just now. I felt around under it, and I felt what felt like about the size of a golf ball or an egg. And so I went and pulled one, and I do have my new potatoes, and they are still a little bit small, but I wanted to show you guys this just as an example of what I have at 60 days. Now my tops are very big. I definitely have a nitrogen excess in this soil, and I don't know if my potatoes are any smaller than, you know, if they could be bigger, if I have more you know, phosphorus or potassium necessarily, if they would be any bigger. But there's quite a few in there that are, you know, I don't know, large plum size. There's about one there, it's about the size of a small chicken egg, and I haven't actually grovelled. I'll check in the soil right now. But just wanted to show you guys that to give you an idea, you know, what you maybe could expect at around 60 days if you're wanting to do something similar to me. I don't know that it's a horrible idea to actually do this, to, you know, intentionally overplant, so to speak, and then come back through and thin them like that, but thin them at a harvest point. We're not thinning at a point, you know, of waste. We're not just ripping a plant out of the ground. I'm not finding any other potatoes that broke off. I thought maybe I'd break a few off by pulling them like that, but I stuck a manure fork under it and kind of lifted the soil, so they actually all hung on really well. But I wanted to go through there and see. So the next plant, I could try to take that next plant up too and just see if we don't find a few more, because like I said, I'm not desperate for this. We've got potatoes in the pantry, but I wanted to do this more as an experiment, just to see what we found. So we'll get our fork in there, loosen them up, and let's see what we find. This is live action for you guys, by the way. We'll take this plant up. Yeah, see, there's nothing on that one. Nothing. Little bitty things. Maybe I broke some off in the soil here, but I kind of doubt it. Oopsie, sorry about the finger there. I'm thinking this one just didn't have anything under it. Now that might be a result of being choked, you know, being in here too dense, too close to the next potato maybe. Maybe that first one I pulled was looking okay just because it was on an outside edge. I'm gonna take this dirt and push it up against the side plants there. Might as well, right? Hill up those outer 2 rows. And I'm probably making you guys sick now because I'm just kind of doing this on the fly. Oh, okay. So that's how the potato patch should look. You know, and not so thick that you can't see through it. So anyway, this gives me my answer. Like I said, I want to pull a little early, and I guess to be fair, I'd have to pull another one in, but I really don't think there's any point. I mean, basically, if you say that this first one, you know, was doing better because it was on the outside end, then it's safe to assume that everything on the outside end or outside edges would be the same or comparable, and that anything on the inside 3 rows, you know, would be restricted. So if I start digging in another week or two and start trying to pull up more of these 2 inside rows, it would certainly benefit the middlemost row, and probably not really going to do anything for the outer 2 rows, because they're getting all the light and, you know, space that they need being on the outside already. Which, I mean, everything's grown up tall. I don't think any of it's struggling for sunlight, and I don't really know that they're competing for nutrients, because like I said, this soil is very, very rich. So maybe it doesn't matter, but I wanted to show you that. Like I said, that's you know, a week shy of 60 days, if you will. The outside one had some bigger stuff, but it, you know, it's also a bigger plant. It's a much larger plant. There's actually 2 plants there to put on those. Yeah, I guess this is 2 plants, kind of. But a smaller, in general, a smaller plant. I mean, here, this one, you know, it even looks a little, even looks a little yellowed, almost like it's was restricted for sun, maybe. You know, that one, no potatoes. This big bushy fella, you know, had some decent potatoes. So anyway, I finally had to break down and do it. I was scared to do it for fear of ripping a plant out of the ground and wasting it, but you know what? That's what plant number 2 was. Ripped it out and wasted it. But I'm gonna pluck these taters off here, take them in the house, wash them up, maybe fry them up for breakfast. But like I said, I just want to show it to you guys and share with you, because I couldn't find anything real clear on what to expect. So now I know, and now you know. Okay, so one more thing, I'll tell you what I did. I got in here kind of in the middle of the row, but kind of on a plant that gets good sun. This is technically the end of the 5th row, and the other 4 rows I'll go a little further, but I got in here on this one. So it's basically a few plants in on an inside row, and I lifted it on out. So this one would be a little more restricted for light, basically, but had a little more opportunity. Went ahead and lifted it out, got that one, this one, not too horrible. Look at that. Look how much of the seed's still on it. You think you'd just about be able to bury that one back up in the ground and let it grow again. So 3 little spuds there, and I know some people do that, by the way. They grovel underneath the potato plant and will steal potatoes and leave the plant in the ground. Hell, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bury it back up in that hole and just see if it survives. I mean, if it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, cool, maybe it'll grow more, but I don't know that it'll really put on more potatoes, but whatever, I'll put it back in there and see what happens. Anyway, kind of internal row, got a few decent sized potatoes off of it, actually. I was kind of surprised. Not as many potatoes, but decent size for what it has.